Hi, I'm Barry Garcia with NanLite, and today we're going to talk about the Pavotube II 6C. So what do you get when you get the new Pavotube II 6C? Well, it comes in this really nice little velour bag. You can actually get the USB charging cable. You get the light itself with a handy dandy strap. And then you get these three little pieces of metal. And the metal itself works with the actual magnet system that's in the fixture. So what type of LEDs actually come in this light fixture? Well, we have an RGB WW. What does that mean? An RGB WW means that we have an RGB LED inside there, and that's what this is. But we also have what they call a warm white, cool white LED. So a warm white LED is actually going to give us a warmer looking color, more like what you would get when you're looking like a tungsten type light or an indoor type light. But it also gives us cooler colors. So we can go up to like 65, 56, and 7,500 degrees Kelvin at the top. Now those are going to give you more of your daylight colors as well as some of the bluer colors on that end of the spectrum. So let's talk about the rugged construction of the light itself. Now the light is about 10 inches long and it's less than a pound. And it has multiple mounting points. What I mean by that is you've got quarter 20s on each end of the light. It comes with this really nice hand strap that has a quarter 20 on it as well, so you can screw it in or take it out, depending on what your needs are. Now, the multiple mounting system that I'm talking about is this new magnet system. Now, the magnet system actually allows you to mount it anywhere that's metal. It also gives you three little metal plates that you can attach to different things so that you can stick this light just about anywhere. That's what makes it really cool. So the light itself has an internal battery, and then it'll last a little over an hour at 100%. But what you can also do is you can plug the light in and run it as long as you like, off of an outlet, or if you want, you can run it off of maybe your phone battery charger and have extended life. So the light itself has a CRI of 98 and a TLCI of 96. That means it gives you very accurate color. One of the really nice things about this light is it has a variable color temperature. Now, a variable color temperature usually means that it can go from one to the other. This light goes from 2700 degrees Kelvin all the way up to 7500 degrees Kelvin and everything in between. Now, 2700 degrees Kelvin, that's kind of the candlelight color that you get. It's really orange. When you move into the 3200 degrees Kelvin, you're getting that nice house light, the light that's on the inside of your house. When you get into 45, it's kind of a mixture of daylight and tungsten. At 5500 degrees Kelvin, you're moving into the actual daylight color temperature. 65 is more of a white light, and 75 actually is a white light with a lot of blue in it. So you got a lot of different colors that will match any of the light that you might be using externally. Now, one of the other neat features about this is it actually has what we call a hue shift. Now, a hue shift actually allows you to move from magenta to green and match other LED lights, allowing you to add more green or take away green, or adding more pink or take it away, gives you that ability to match any type of LED that's out there on the market. So one of the other features that the light actually has is what we call hue saturation intensity, or HSI. Now, the HSI gives you the ability to have 360 degree colors like you'd have on the color wheel. So you can actually scroll through different colors that work best for you. So you can use it in any type of situation that you might need. And you can add some color to the background, you can put a little color on somebody, or you can do maybe a little light painting. There are a lot of different mounting options for the light itself. What we've done here is we brought in a stand, and then we put a ball head on top of the stand with a quarter 20. Now remember, this light has quarter 20 receivers on both ends, so it allows us to screw down to the ball head, and now we can use this light and adjust it however we see fit. So if I want to light myself, or let's say I want to light a product, like so, and then I can light this right here, or I could actually take it and then light it horizontally if I needed to. And then the stand itself would allow you to bring it up or down depending on what your needs are. Now lastly, NanLite has made the plastic clips that we use for their Pavotubes. And you could take this guy right here, put him on, snap him in. He's got quarter 20s in the back receiver that you can actually use to adjust the light or mount it wherever you might need to. Powering up the light itself is pretty simple. It's basically just a power button on the back, and basically you're going to hold it down until the NanLite word moves across the screen. Once you let go of it, the light itself should turn on. Let's now talk about the menu layout, as well as the mode and switch buttons that we have on the back of the light. So going through the menu layout and seeing the different mode and switch buttons, well, let's go through and talk about what each one does. Now right now, when we turn the light on, we're in CCT mode, or correlated color temperature. So what does that do? Well, that actually shows the different CCTs we have, which is 7,500 degrees Kelvin is where we're starting at. Now, with the actual switch button, we can switch down from dimming, which happens to be at about 50% now. We can go up to 100 if we want to, or we can go all the way down to like 20%, all the way down to 0 if we need to, but we'll stay at that around 20. So switching, we can actually go down into the CCT mode. Currently we're at 7,500 degrees Kelvin. Now, if we take the button and go down, we can go through the different variable color temperatures to 2,700 degrees Kelvin, which is more of that lovely orange color that you get like your house. Now, if we switch again, now we're in the hue shift mode. With the hue shift mode, you're adding green or magenta to an already LED that you may be using. Now, to do that, we basically, if we go down in numbers, we're going to start adding pink. Now, if we go up in numbers, we're going to start adding green. To get back to having no color whatsoever, we need to get to 0. So moving on in the modes, we're going to move over to HSI, which is hue, saturation, and intensity. With hue, saturation, and intensity, we have the ability to dim, we have the ability to change the color, and we have the ability to add or take away saturation. Right now we're currently in the dim mode, and at 25%, we can switch down to the hue mode, and we're at 274, which is more of a purple color. So if we actually start scrolling around here, we're going to change into the blues, and I think we're going to move down into the greens, and then into the yellows, oranges, and then when we get down to 0, we'll be in the reds. Now, right now we're at 100% saturation, so that means full color. If we switch over, we can add or take away saturation and start adding white to it. So what it's going to do is just basically soften that color. Let's mode on over to the effects. Now the effects on this thing are very extensive, and we're going to cover them more later on in this video. And then lastly, we're going to go to the menu. In the menu, we have the ability to change our channel so that we can add multiple lights to, say, a remote control or the app. And then we can also change the language as well as show what version of software we're on. And then we'll mode right back to CCT where we started. The brightness can be controlled with 2 buttons on the back of the actual fixture, a plus and minus button. Now we're in CCT mode, and to be able to control the brightness, we're basically controlling the DIM or the dimming. Now we're going to use the plus or minus buttons to be able to control that, and it goes from 0 all the way up to 100% when we want to be able to use the light. The light itself can be brighter than this if you use multiples, obviously. This light right here by itself, with just a single fixture at 1 meter, is about 174 lux. But if you want to add multiple lights like this, 2, 3, 4 even, you can look up to maybe 4 lights at 1 meter is about 669 lux. So that's pretty bright. So now let's talk a little bit about the special effects and all the different things that you get. So we're going to start off with the disco mode. Now the disco mode is going to give us basically, in the effects, it tells us what it is. We'll switch down to the dimmer mode, then we can switch over to color shift as well as the speed of it. So those are all the things that we can do. If we switch over to the next one, which is our bad bulb, this is that flicker that you usually get that you have in some of our Forza lights. Now you can also do dimming with this guy. You've got a color range, as well as you can add the hue shift from 0 to 60. And then you also have your speed that you can shift all the way up to 50%. Now, switching back, we can actually go back to the next one, which is fireworks. Now fireworks does a couple of different things. You actually go down and dim or bring it up depending on what you need. You can also switch over to the color, so you can shift that, the speed, and then what we call the decay rate. So this actually allows you to decay the light so that it kind of moves off into nothing. Now we move on to the next one, which is going to be explosives. And explosion actually gives you the dimming, it gives you the color, you can add the hue shift, you can add speed, and then again you have a decay rate for how quick you want the explosion to happen. So moving to the next one, we've actually got welding. Now welding gives you a dimming range, but it also gives you color, hue shift, speed, and then you can pause it. You can turn it on or off depending on what you want to do. And then the next one, we can actually go on to our what we call a hue loop. Now the loop itself gives you the dimming ability. You got a hue range there, and then you also have a speed that allows you to kind of move through. The next one actually is CCT loop. CCT loop obviously gives us the dimming. It gives us a CCT range of 3200 to 5600 Kelvin. And then it also gives you a speed. Now, the next one is going to be an intermittent loop. Now this gives us a dimming range, a speed, the CCT color, or you can switch over to the hue if you want to. We'll go back, and then it gives you the ability to be able to control that. And then if we move back and we go to the next one, we got CCT flash, we can dim, we can use the color temperature, we can do hue shift, and then we can do our intervals. And then we're moving on to the actual hue flash. That gives us dimming, gives us the hue, the saturation, and the intervals as well. And then we're moving on to CCT pulse. Again, dimming, the color, the hue shift, and then the pulse rate in seconds. And then we also have the hue pulse, which is color this time. Same thing, dimming, hue, saturation, and the pulse rate. And then we move on to what we call our storm, which is our quick flash. And then we've got the dimming ability, the color temperature, as well as our intervals of how quick we want the flashes. And then we can move on to our next one, which is our police car. It gives us dimming. It gives us the different colors that we can choose depending on what we want. It gives us our speed rate. And then we can move on to what our next one, which is TV. It gives us dimming. It gives us CCT, which is a hue shift, and gives us speed of how quick that is going to happen. And then we'll move on to the next one. And then we've got paparazzi, which is our flashes. You can dim those as well, and then you can use the different color temperatures as hue shifts, as well as the speed of the flash. So moving on to one of our last ones, which is candle fire. Now we've got dimming in a range. We've got CCT in a range. We've got plus or minus green or magenta, which is our hue shift. And then we have the speed of what that is. Okay, and then we're moving on. And then we're back around to disco. If you're going to address the light for app control, there's a couple things you're going to need. You're going to need obviously the app on your phone or onto your device, but you're also going to need the wireless system to be able to control multiple lights at the same time. Now, to address the app on this fixture, you actually have to scroll through in mode to the menu setting. At the top of the menu setting is the actual address. And our first selection there is the channel, and that's going to allow us to go from 1 all the way up to 512 channels and address each individual light so that you can control them individually with the app that you have. So there are a lot of accessories that are available for the Pavotube 6C. The nice thing about it is you can do something as far as like an egg crate, you can do a waterproof bag, a battery adapter, or something along the lines of like a multi-coupler that puts you multiple lights together, as well as a ball head or mini tripod. These are all available and will be coming out later for the actual light. So one of the things that will work with your new Pavotube 6C is the actual RC1. So if you have a customer that comes up and says, hey, what can I use and how can I control that? This will help out tremendously. You can actually dim the light up or down from 0 to 100. You can actually control the CCT or the variable color temperature from 2700 to 7500 degrees by adjusting small increments or large increments depending on what you need. And lastly, you can control the addresses on each individual light that you're trying to address. The only thing it won't do is it won't control the RGB. So thanks for joining us today. If you have any more questions or need to find out more information, you can always go check us out at nanliteus.com.